Good morning, viewers. You're watching NewsX and I'm Simran. Let's begin the bulletin with the focus on the top story of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has in fact addressed the opening session of the G20 Summit today on the social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked the President of Brazil, Mr. Luis Inaugurated Lula da Silva, for hosting the summit and for his gracious hospitality. He appreciated the Brazilian G20 agenda focused on the sustainable development goals, noting that this approach highlighted the concerns of the global south and took forward the people-centric decisions of the New Delhi G20 Summit. He further underscored that the Indian G20 presidency's call for one earth, one family, one future continued to resonate at the Rio conversations as well. Speaking about India's initiatives to deal with the hunger and poverty, Prime Minister noted that India had pulled 250 million people out of poverty in the last 10 years and was distributing free food grains to 800 million people in the country. Speaking about India's success in tackling food security, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also emphasized that its approach based on back to basics and march to future was yielding results. He also further elaborated on the measures taken by India to foster the women-led development. Well, these are some of the keynotes which were delivered and highlighted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his address in the G20 Summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also highlighted the steps taken by India to strengthen food security in Africa and elsewhere. In this regard, he welcomed the Brazilian initiative to establish a global alliance against hunger, poverty, underlining the global south was severely impacted by food, fuel and fertilizer crisis created by the ongoing conflicts in the regions. All right, viewers, joining me live for more details is in fact my colleague Brian Thomas. Brian, very good morning to you. This is in fact a much detailed, much perfectly curated address that we are looking at as far as the food security, the women-led development and Viksit Bharat back home Abhiyan is concerned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Well, in Brazil, in fact, these points which are touched in the address of PM Modi are beyond the developmental goals in the India. Share more details about it.
Well, definitely, Simran, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has addressed G20 session on social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty. He addressed the opening session also of the G20 Summit, where he focused on social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty. He even expressed gratitude to Brazilian President Luis Inaugurated Lula da Silva for hosting the summit and even extending warm hospitality as well. And even he praised Brazil G20 agenda, which emphasized sustainable development goals. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also acknowledged this people-centric approach as a continuation of the progress made during the New Delhi G20 Summit also that happened last year, that emphasized India's theme of one earth, one family and one future that remained central to the discussions in Rio as well. Even highlighting India's strides also in combating hunger and poverty, Narendra Modi also noted that over the past decade, India had lifted 250 million people out of poverty and is currently even providing free food grains to 800 million citizens as well. And he even rather attributed India's success also in food security to its approach of blending tradition with innovation that is encapsulated also in the principle of back to basics and march to future. And he also rather elaborated on the country's commitment to women-led development as a cornerstone of inclusive growth as well. And Narendra Modi also rather further underscored India's initiative also to bolster food security beyond its border, particularly in Africa and other regions, that he even welcomed Brazil's proposal to establish a global alliance against hunger and poverty, stressing the very important need to prioritize the concern of global south, which has been appropriationally also affected by the global food, fuel, fertilizers crisis that triggered by ongoing conflict as well.
All right, Brian, thank you for adding these details. I'll request you to kindly stay on with me.